In our last video, we discussed the international politics during Bangladesh crisis. In this video, we are going to discuss the war and what happened after that. Let us first see what all happened during the 2 weeks of the war. In the past decade, the Indian Armed Forces had augmented its equipment, modernized its organization, and laid the foundation of an indigenous weapon industry. While Indian intelligence had exaggerated Pakistani strength, a study by the International Institute of Strategic Studies showed that India in fact had twice as many tanks and artillery guns as its neighbor. Indira Gandhi was prepared for it by November end, but she was reluctant to take action first, even though the Indian army was ready and in fact 4th December had been designated as the day the Indian armed forces would directly undertake the liberation of Bangladesh. But at this stage, Yahya Khan obliged Indira Gandhi by pushing the button first. On the afternoon of 3rd December, Pakistani bombers attacked airfields all along the western border. Simultaneously, 7 regiments of artillery attacked positions in Kashmir. The Indians retaliated with a series of massive airstrikes. In Kashmir and Punjab, they answered back on the ground, while in the seas beyond, the Navy saw action for the first time, moving towards Karachi. The eruption of conflict in the West provided the perfect excuse for India to move its troops and tanks across the border into East Pakistan, turning a shadowy struggle into a very open one. The Indian army moved towards Dhaka from 4 different directions. The delta was crisscrossed by rivers, but Mukti Bahini knew where best to lay bridges and which town housed what kind of enemy contingent. The Bahini was in turn helped by their civilian comrades. As the Pakistani commander was to recall later, the Indian army knew of all our battle positions down to last bunker through the locals. Their path thus smoothed, the Indians made swift progress. Communications were snapped between Dhaka and other main city, Chitgaon. Vital railheads were captured, rendering the defenders immobile. On 6 December, the Government of India officially revealed an intention it had long nurtured, namely to support and catalyze the formation of a new nation state to replace the old East Pakistan. On this day, it formally recognized the provincial government of People's Republic of Bangladesh. In Mujibur Rahman's absence, Sayyid Nazrul Islam served as acting president of the new state. He had a full-fledged cabinet in tow. In December, it was made impossible for China to send military aid by the snows that covered the Himalaya. This indeed was the perfect season for Indians to effect their march on Dhaka. US government tried to intervene, declared India to be the aggressor and stopped all economic aid to it. But its 2 resolutions in the UN Security Council proposing a ceasefire and mutual troops withdrawal were vetoed by the Soviet Union, with Britain and France abstaining. As part of gunboat diplomacy, segments of the US 7th Fleet, led by nuclear aircraft carrier USS Enterprise, set out for the Bay of Bengal on 9th December with the objective of forcing India to delay the fall of Dhaka. But Indira Gandhi calmly ignored the American threat and instead asked General Mackintosh, India's Chief of Army Staff, to hurry the completion of India's military plan. The Indian Armed Forces, having surrounded Dhaka on 13th December, forced the defeated and demoralized 93,000 strong Pakistani army in Bangladesh to surrender on 16th December. Lieutenant General J.S. Arora of Indian Army's Eastern Command flew into Dhaka to accept a signed instrument of surrender. That same evening, the Prime Minister made an announcement in the Lok Sabha that Dhaka is now the free capital of a free country. Let us now see what happened after the war in the Eastern Front was over. Following the surrender in Dhaka on 17 December, The Indian government announced a unilateral ceasefire on the Western Front. The continuation of the war would have been hazardous both on diplomatic and military grounds. The United States, China, and the UN were then likely to intervene more actively. The Soviet Union also did not favor further fighting. War on the Western Front would also have been very costly, both in terms of men and material. Pakistan readily accepted the ceasefire and released Mujibur Rahman, who came to power in Bangladesh on 12 January 1972. The war had lasted a little less than 2 weeks. The Indian claimed to have lost 42 aircraft against Pakistan's 86 and 81 tanks against their 226. But by far the largest disparity was in the number of prisoners. India still held over 90,000 prisoners of war and was in occupation of nearly 9,000 square kilometers of Pakistani territory. India treated all the POWs in strict accordance with the Geneva Convention in 1925. It released more than 90,000 Pakistani POWs in 5 months. Further, as a gesture of goodwill, nearly 200 soldiers who were sought for war crimes by Bengalis were also pardoned by India. India also gave back the land that Indian troops had seized in the West Pakistan during the war, though India retained a few strategic areas, most notably Kargil. Bhutan was the first country to recognize Bangladesh. China, being the Pakistan's ally, was the last to recognize Bangladesh in August 1975. United States, also being the Pakistan's ally, delayed the recognition till April 1972. As the domestic consequences of war, the victory over Pakistan unleashed a huge wave of patriotic sentiments. The Bangladesh War was also in real terms a personal victory for Indira Gandhi. Indians admired her toughness and determination and the superb leadership qualities she had displayed throughout the crisis. Her popularity stretched phenomenally and her prestige went up in the community of nations. She was at the pinnacle of her power and glory. Many Indians referred to her as a modern day Durga, an incarnation of Shakti or female energy. At this moment of her triumph, Indira Gandhi gladly shared her glory with Mackinshaw, who was made a field marshal, the first in India. As a chief of army, General Mackinshaw played strategically decisive roles. In Pakistan, Yahya Khan resigned and Zulfikar Ali Bhutto stepped in to take his place. Bhutto and Indira Gandhi started the peace talk and came to a settlement famously known as the Shimla Agreement. In our next video, we will discuss the Shimla Agreement between India and Pakistan. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, share and comment because discussion is solution. For more discussions, please subscribe our channel.